So part of the novel is a series of 7 dark fairy tales that show a kind of development of this character over time from innocence to experience. As I say, it's a hybrid novel, kind of tracking the development of one particular consciousness over time, which is a jagged, fragmented affair, and so the book itself carries those qualities stylistically. So this is a very strong shift in tone from Elvis and David Lynch. The cat the child was secretly feeding, the parents would have forbidden it, was growing fatter. The child was glad, for when the cat first appeared at the forest edge, it did not even look like a cat. It was a skeleton jerking in a dark gray sack. But after feasting on the table scraps, the child slid under the porch. The beast resembled a cat again. It was silver gray, like the bark on the ash tree it liked to rub against, and its eyes were green or yellow according to the light, and it was big, too big for a normal cat, more like the size of a small person walking on all fours. But then the cat's belly became round. Did it have a stone in its gut, the child wondered? Or that ball in the grandmother's story? The grandmother, his grandmother, she was gray too. Her skin was, her hair. Before she got buried, she told how a ghost had a ball the size of a head. And this ball wasn't magic, like you might think, only strange. Making the child believe things he would not ordinarily have believed. The child was old enough to know this ball was not inside the cat's belly, nor was a stone inside the cat's belly. The child was also old enough to know that if his parents were asked what was rounding this cat's gut, they would say, babies. But there were no kittens. The child could tell by the way the belly, when touched, pulsed. It was like one large heart thudding, not like little squirming creatures. One day, when the child touched the beating gut, the cat hissed and scratched. Weeks later, 5 red lines still marked the child's left hand. When his parents asked about these marks, he said, "I tripped on the rocks." Parents paused, but they never asked about the wound again. The pain kept the boy awake at nights. One evening, when the child as usual placed scraps under the porch, the cat did not appear. The child thought the cat might be deeper under the porch, and so crawled under the porch all the way to the middle of the house. The cat was not there. Through the boards in the floor of the house, the child heard his parents calling him. He waited. The lights went out, and his parents walked upstairs and shut their door. Most nights, after his parents closed down, the child sat by the edge of the porch and looked at the cat's eyes, not green now, but yellow in the fading light. And he asked, "What do you do when you're all alone?" The cat fell asleep. The child imagined the cat was dreaming an answer to the question, however. "When I'm alone," the cat dreamed, "I do not feel alone, because in the forest nothing is separate from anything else, because everything hides in the same darkness." But now the cat was gone. Did it leave behind what was in its gut? The child again searched under the porch. Nothing. The child crawled out from under the porch. There was no moon, but the bark on the ash tree at the edge of the woods shined. This was the cat's favorite tree, the tree the cat liked to rub against. The cat was inside the tree, so the child believed. The child ran toward the tree, but tripped on the head-sized rock between the house and the tree. The ground scraped the left hand. Blood appeared where the 5 stripes were. The hand ached anew. The child limped to the tree. The wind was cold, even though it was summer. The child touched the bark. It did not pulse, thud, thud, as the cat's belly had done. A sound other than the wind came from the other side of the tree, and the child stepped toward the sound. It was only the wind after all. But the child was now in the forest. Since his parents had forbidden the forest, this was the first time. The child stepped 3 more times into the forest and listened again for the sound that was not the wind. There it was, a hissing, a cat's hissing. The silver gray cat was inside the forest. The child heard the gray cat hiss the day it had scratched his hand. The child had also heard it hiss the day the parents had tried to coax the cat from under the porch. They had said it was bad luck for a creature like that to live under the house. They stuck their hands under the house and called, "Kitty, kitty." The cat hissed, and the parents returned to the house, shaking their heads. They spoke no more than that. The cat was now hissing from inside the forest. The cat was in danger. The child would save the cat. The child walked toward the sound deeper into the forest. The wind died down. The child listened for the hissing. Nothing. The child called the cat, "Kitty, kitty." Nothing. "Kitty." Still nothing. The child sat down. The wind flared. It was cold. The child wanted to look for the cat more, but the pain in his hand pulsed, and the darkness came alive, and there was fear. Where am I? Why did they let this happen? That sick quivering in his belly was there, like the time his parents had accidentally locked him in the cellar. For a day, maybe 2, maybe 3, the parents never said how long, the child was trapped. No one heard calling. Only when the grandmother came down for potatoes was the child discovered. The child now remembered the grandmother's story about the boy and the ball. The child stood up and ran, but could not see, and he slammed into a tree and fell and was lying face upward and breathing hard. 2 eyes bright as fire, head size yellow, gray, green, hissing from the sky, only eyes straight for the child's face. The child screamed and rolled over. But this was nothing terrible. The child stood up. He was no longer afraid. He was no longer lost. And he walked to the house, and he entered, and he fell asleep in his bed. The child awoke. The sun was bright. His left hand, covered in blood, ached. Something was under the bed. The child crawled out of bed and looked into the space between the floor and the bed. The silver gray skin rested on the floor like an empty sack. Blood stained the edges. The child had not imagined the 2 things that had been inside the belly all this time. Perhaps the smaller one had been inside the bigger one, like those Russian dolls the grandmother had once given. The heads were not really as round as the child had imagined either, and the child should have known they would not be the heads of cats. He looked at the heads. He called for his parents. They did not answer. He looked at the heads. Nothing would now be forbidden. The child could feel the 2 bodies under the porch whenever he liked. He could walk into the forest whenever he liked. And he would no longer be lonely, since he was hiding in the same darkness as all the other creatures.